Well, welcome guys to episode 27 of the Zwift Power Up Cycling Podcast. Matt Rowe here with Greg Henderson and Kev Poulton.
G'day mate, how you doing? Good to be back again, and let's crack into it.
Yeah, hi guys, like you say, good to be back, and hey, let's get into it.
Good stuff. So, the one point to mention is we've now got a bit of a home for the podcast on the Zwift forums. So you'll see a thread there, which is Power Up Podcasts, one for the Tri Podcast and one for the Cycling Podcast. So I guess, any questions, comments, we're going to kind of try and be active contributors on the forum there. So yeah, just feel free to drop us a line with your thoughts and comments. But to kick off, probably worth talking about some of the new stuff going on in Zwift. I guess the big one is the new course, guys, the new route, the Fuego Flats, 10k out and 10k back route, which is pretty much dead flat in the desert.
Yeah, Fuego. I'm on fire. I learned that off Anchorman, the Fuego Flats. So it's obviously a really hot situation. But awesome scenery. It's amazing what they do, and it's fantastic for specialised efforts. What do you reckon, Kev?
Yeah, exactly. In terms of using it in training, I've always been a big proponent of free ride training on Zwift, and this is the perfect course to do obviously time trialing, where you can do try and negative split the course, so go faster on the way back than what you do on the way out, and also doing a free ride with some random sprints throughout. It's the perfect course for doing that as well, so yeah, it's a good addition.
Yeah, and to really take the thinking out of it, if you're just doing a free ride, there's two new segments as well. There's the 500-meter sprint.
Oh, that's a long one.
And the 7, it is, that's a killer, and the 7k effort. So, yeah, perfect opportunity to do some time trialing and a real long, awkward sprint.
Just for the record, I've got I actually have the world record for that distance. So on the forum, guys, feel free to attach your times, and I'll let you know whether or not you beat me. So yeah, just get on the forum, and I'm not going to tell you what my time was, but you just put one down on the forum, and I'll let you know whether you beat me or not.
Well, hang on, we need some more information here.
Is this sanctioned by anyone? Or?
I sanctioned it. It's all legit, mate. Yeah, okay. Don't worry about it. It's all legit.
Fair enough.
So is this the 500 or the 7 kilometre one?
Mate, I can't do 7k. It's 500. All right, crikey, dick.
500 metres.
I've got the world record. I've got the record. No, well, I've got the Zwift record. All right, and it's they didn't want to put that up. They didn't want to put that up straight away because it might demoralise a few people. But you're more than welcome to comment on the Zwift forum, and I'll let you know if you got close.
Okay, the challenge is out there.
Oh, sounds good, but we don't know what we're trying to beat.
No, you won't know.
Fair enough. Just also about the Fuego Flats. There's kind of 4 new routes that are being created. So the main one, I think, is extending the Mega Pretzel to be the Uber Pretzel. So that's now, the Fuego Flats are now part of a 128 kilometer loop. So that's a big old loop if you fancy a long ride. But also, what else is going on in Zwift? The new music when you log in. It's a bit of a refresh in soundtrack, guys.
Why not? It's Zwift's forever changing. Why not? It sounds good. It's all, just love it. That's the thing. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's like Zwift's changing, the music's changing, everything's changing. It's good. I like it. Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, good. And Tour of Watopia, it seems to have had a huge uptake, and I really like the fact that you get a whole week to do each stage, so you don't have to, you're not too time pressed to squeeze multiple stages in per week. And it fits, doing Tour of Watopia fits quite nicely alongside other training plans.
Yeah, exactly. And again, doing that free ride sort of training, like you said, Matt, fits in with the other training. So have some structured workouts, some high intensity, and then join some others for a nice group free ride.
Yeah, and stage 3 was John's mix. I actually done it, and it was so funny. Some of the comments coming out. And it was like, WTF, John, what's this? It's such a hard session. I'm trying to think what it was. There was a load of sprints up front, sweet spot towards the end, and a kind of couple of minutes, max kind of anaerobic capacity minutes. Oh, it was a hell of a session. I mean, we spoke about it before, how efficient and how time efficient that session is. But I think it's great for the community to kind of get stuck into that, and there was certainly a lot of Yeah, a little bit of moaning, but a lot of, towards the end, a lot of kind of virtual high-fiving and ride-on and that sense of achievement at the end. So I think stage 3 for me was most rewarding to date. Have you guys been doing any of Tour of Watopia?
I've been doing L'Étape du Tour, the training for that one. So a little bit different to Tour of Watopia, but yeah, still that training as a group, which is what Zwift is all about.
Absolutely. So today the podcast is going to be themed about the classics. And personally, I think it's the best type of bike racing. Those 1 days, full gas, super exciting. Yeah. All right. Well, and Kev, on the theme of classics, you had a chat about Roubaix with Katusha-Alpecin rider Marco Haller. Let's get stuck into that.
All right, guys. Well, we're talking here with Marco Haller from Team Katusha-Alpecin. Marco, thanks for joining us.
Hey, no worries.
Marco, you've just finished Roubaix, and along with that, the entire Classics campaign. I guess tell us in a short way, how was Roubaix for you?
Well, for me personally, and also for the team, a perfect finish to a long and demanding classic campaign, and with a podium spot of Niels. Everybody returned home super happy, but also super tired. But like it always is, Roubaix is just one hell of a ride, and it was again this year.
Yeah, definitely. Now, we were talking before we started recording about how everybody has their story from Roubaix about what if and what could have been. What were some of the key moments for you in the race that, if things had gone a different way, might have changed the outcome for you?
As we always know, Roubaix is a pretty unpredictable race. We have seen all kinds of scenarios leading to victory and to glory. So you really need to be prepared for anything, basically. And like, I don't know what other teams had in mind, but we actually thought with the headwind, it might be that a group will go a bit quicker. And at the end, we never had this famous group of the day. It never established itself. And what happened was that just like 10-15k before the first cobbled section, already a key group escaped. And Niels and I had the good move being with these guys. So we were like almost 30 riders when we connected with the first and second group. And already with this move, we were able to put a lot of pressure on some teams, like Sky wasn't there, Bahrain wasn't there, Wismar Jumbo wasn't there. And I think even if you cannot really say you win the race at this point, it already was one of the first key sections, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Leading into the race, what were your goals personally leading into the race? Did you have expectations to win the race yourself, or did you know you were going to be just a key working rider for your teammates?
The plan from our team was pretty clear. Obviously, with the recent performances of Niels, he was the sole leader. But also Jens de Buschere got a protected role because he already did this race a couple of times with good results. So these were our main guys for today and or for that day. And I got a kind of a free role, so just see what's happening and try to be there. And as soon as I was there with this first big group with Niels, I understood that this was a good chance to get something out of it. And I talked with Niels and I said he should try to save his legs, and I tried to keep that thing to keep that group rolling. This was the main thing for me. So it was always being a domestic who should make it into the deep final, and at the end we did it perfectly. Also, Mats was there. I would say tactic-wise, we really rode it perfectly.
Yeah, definitely. Now, we know the end result was Niels finished second and you finished 16th in the end. Obviously, you had a good day. In a race like Roubaix, at what point do you know that, okay, I'm on a good day today, and you start thinking about going deep into the race, whereas some guys, we all know in the first hour of a race, you know if you're going to be on a good day or not. Did you have a moment like that where you knew, okay, today I'm on?
Yeah, it's always a bit tricky because obviously such a classic goes over 6-7 hours, and what you're doing all the time is kind of scanning your body permanently, and how are the legs feeling, how are you feeling, and so on. So you're always a little bit in doubt also, but I'd say as soon as the first guy puts the hammer down and the race is on, then you immediately feel if it's a good day or a bad day, which was the case for me. So I immediately knew I have good legs. But on the other hand, you need to be really careful, first of all, with the distance. Like you still need to be careful and ride economic. And on the other hand, you never know. It might come the point where you just run out of energy for whatever reason, like being bonked or whatever. So you never really know. Anything can happen till the end. But I think basically as soon as the race really starts, you should also be you should also know if you have a good day or a bad day.
Yeah, definitely. And we've seen over the last few years, it seems like each year the break tends to take longer to establish itself, if at all. And this year it was almost 70 kilometers till a break of some sort got away. Why do you think that's happening in the race? Why is it harder for a group to get away early in Roubaix now?
This is my opinion, because every tactical meeting in any team is pretty much the same, and more and more teams just tell their riders that Roubaix is maybe the one and only race where the actual break can really make it to the final, and you can win the race out of the break. So it's not like take Milano-San Remo, a 300-kilometer race. Going in the break, there's basically a suicide commando, you know? Like, not get anything out of it. But with Roubaix, wherever you are, you need to ride, you need to be focused, you need to push the pedals on the cobbles, slipstream and all this stuff is a bit relative, you know? So wherever you are, and you need to go hard. So it's the one and only race where it really makes sense to be there.
Yeah, it really is a unique race, isn't it? Like you just said then, it's the race where from kilometre zero, it really is, for want of a better word, a race from beginning to end, isn't it? And like you say, to be in that break, you can win from that break, and everyone wants to be there, don't they?
Exactly. Like, if I compare it now with Flanders, where I said, for myself, like I also got this kind of a free role. Like I was not a protected rider, but I didn't need to help in first place. I for example took the Muur of Gerardsbergen to say, okay, I will start my race there, which was race kilometer 180. So what I will do is I will risk it and go into the Quaremont in very late. I will just don't care about position fights and all that, and just if the group splits, whatever, I'll be in the last group, but I will take that risk that they come back again. Roubaix is a race you don't want to play this game. As soon as you hit the first cobbles, you want to be there, because it can just be such a mess, and it was, and this is why you need to take this race on differently, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And what about equipment? Is there anything special you do on the day? Tire pressures, wheels, what do you do to make the day easier for you?
Well, obviously we change to wider tires. Usually we run 25 millimeter tires in any race. Even for Flanders, I had just the 25 millimeter tires from Continental, and for Roubaix we go to 28 millimeters, and the tire pressure really comes down a lot. In terms of tire pressure, it's pretty, how can I say, like a big variation amongst the riders themselves. Like some tend to go a little bit more, and because they don't want to risk a puncture. I obviously went higher risk because I said I don't want to end up being in group 3 coming home with 15 minutes and not hitting a puncture. I rather be up there and have the risk of a puncture. You know what I mean? Like taking on this risk. So, but for the rest, we have the Canyon Aero. So this was also the bike Niels rode to the podium. So we actually changed nothing. We kept the normal setup. The only real thing we changed was the wider tire.
What about, we saw this year some teams come out with suspension in their bikes, either in the seat post or the handlebars. What's your opinion on that? Is it just marketing gimmicks, or is there a real advantage to it? What do you think?
I think it could be an advantage, but I also need to say I've never tried anything like this. Like I always have been on how can I call it, like standard material. Like it was always a Canyon bike I did Roubaix on, and no big changes I did to the material there. And I cannot really say, but if it makes sense to try and do such things like suspension, then it's for Paris-Roubaix. All other races would be useless. And I think it's a little bit, what does the rider like? Like some riders also a brake on the handlebar and the center of the handlebar and all that.
Yeah.
But, or extra shifters or whatever. But I just go, ordinary setup.
Yeah. What about, we see some riders like to do things like tape the fingers, the wrist. Do you do anything like that at all?
Nothing. Really nothing. Just normal gloves without padding, because where you have the screws and stitches, it always can rub a bit and you get blisters. But what I found out, like you cannot really avoid blisters because it's, for me, it's more a thing of the weather itself, actually. Because it wasn't super warm this year, so I had except of the thumb, which was a little bit bloody at the end, but no blisters at all. So, but on the other hand, you feel your fingers quite long. Now it's like 3 days after the race, and I still can feel the race in my band.
Can you really? That's incredible.
Yeah, it really is. Like, but it's like, what is it, 54 kilometers on cobble, so let's say roughly 1.5 hours or something. And these are cobbles you cannot compare with any other cobbles.
Yeah.
It's just mean.
Yeah. What about, do you double wrap the handlebar tape?
No, also this I keep standard, and I'm also a guy who actually from time to time like to ride on the hoods, because I always want to have the brakes ready if something happens. Although we found out that mostly it's the best thing to just get off the pavé instead of using your brakes, because you would just slip, because you have almost no traction to have a proper full stop. But no double handlebar tape for me. And aero cockpit also.
Yeah, okay. Nice. What about, we need to share your stories. You've had a really good classics campaign this year. But last year you had quite a serious accident. Do you want to explain what happened to you and where you've come from to be where you are this year?
Yeah, it's actually, roughly a year, or pretty exactly a year now, since my training accident, where I had a collision with a car, and it resulted in an open fracture of the knee, and the cartilage was damaged, and it took me like two surgeries to get it fixed again, and I was half a year out of competition. So I had a rough year last year, and even the career was a little bit in doubt because the wound then got infected, and I had a germ and all that. Like it was really proper stuff going on, but thankfully I'm back, and especially after a hard year like that, I'm super happy to be among the top riders again, and happy how the classic campaign went for me and the team at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's good to see you back like this, and yeah, just performing at the highest level. And what about, so to get to this point, I guess we need to make it clear here that I actually coach you personally, so there's no secrets there. So when I ask you about training, yeah, well, how would you describe the work you've done to get to where you are now? Yeah, is it different to what you've done in the past, harder, easier? Obviously, things are going well, and that's great. But yeah, how would you describe how you got to finish Roubaix in 16th place and ride so strong throughout the entire Classics this year?
Well, I need to say that the main difference from my other years was obviously that the season planning itself was already totally upside down due to my injury. Like where some other riders have a good break in, let's say, November, I was already training through because I had my comeback for the Tour of Guangxi in China middle of October or something. So basically I picked up my training there, or, let's say, what was it, 1st of October or something. And since then I'm training through. I also had a early start to racing with the Tour Down Under and also doing the bake grids and all that. And since then I actually never really rested up, and I'm really happy how the two of us managed to keep this form so decent for such a long period. And this is why I need to say that the approach to the classic campaign was totally different to other years, but obviously it worked out.
Yeah. And without putting you on the spot too much, do you have a favorite training session?
A favorite training session? I'm anyway a guy who enjoys training, and I think you can confirm. So whatever whatever training you would give me, and whatever numbers you want to see, I would try to reach them. And I really like the fact of having power meters on your bike. Like it's basically, you can always go out there and race yourself. So this is, for me, it doesn't really matter. I enjoy also long rides through the mountains, but on the other hand, I also love to have short, intense intervals. Like I really can't pick out one favorite train, but it's just the daily challenge you have with yourself, and this is why we are racer, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can definitely attest to your professionalism in training, and you do the hard work. But one comment, you don't like training with heart rate, do you?
No, not at all. This is really an interesting topic. I have, in this conversation and discussion I had already several times, but me personally, I see no need of heart rate because, in my opinion, it's just affected by way too many factors. And, you might have, if you take the big picture, you might be able to get something out of it, but I don't see a reason. Like, for me, 300 watts are 300 watts wherever it is. If you are jet lagged or not, or if you are tired or not, if you're dehydrated or not, 300 watts are 300 watts. And this is the parameter I want to focus on. And, because I also think you can get a little bit, how you say, if you get too much information, it's also any good. So, better focus on. This is more my thing, my style.
Yeah, well, it's definitely working, so let's stick with it anyway. Yeah. All right. What about what's coming up for next year in the season?
Say that again, for next year?
What's coming up in the season ahead? What's next for you?
Yeah, now obviously is the part where you can rest up a bit, but already soon I will pick up training again, and then we will see how the race calendar will look like. But yeah, I hope to be again in the Grand Tour team, and yeah, should be a great summer. But the race calendar is not yet clear at the moment, so we will see. Excellent.
All right, Marco. Well, thanks for joining us, and thanks for sharing your day in Roubaix, and good luck for the rest of the year.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, well, very insightful chat there with Marco. Kev, obviously you coach him, but the point that Marco made that I really liked is when he's talking about how you know whether you're on a good day or a bad day. Basically, as soon as the hammer really goes down first, boom, you tend to know, right, I'm on a good day or I'm not. Because obviously riding easy, everyone feels good.
Yeah, look, Marco was instrumental in Niels Pollitt's podium place in Roubaix. But like we talk about, are they on a good day or not? And I asked Marco that question. I guess as a coach, I was watching it on TV this year. I didn't make it to Europe this year for Roubaix. But when you see your rider on the front in the cobbled sections early in the race, you assume they're on a good day and they're riding with confidence. Yeah, it's good to see. And look, Greg's ridden the race countless times. He knows what it's all about. But it seems to be that Roubaix, every year it's getting harder for that early break to go. I think it's the only race in the year where they race from kilometre zero right through to the end. That's why it's just total mayhem all day.
It's dangerous now, that early break, because the level of cobbled riders, classics riders, is so high now, it's so deep that you let that early break go. I mean, you used to get 12, 14 minutes and, the classic specialists would easily hunt them down. But if you let 8, 9, 10 riders go up the road now, it's like you might not see them again. They're all training perfectly. So it's definitely a changing situation. And there's no way you want to let 10 guys go up the road. Sure, you can let 2 or 3 because they're going to blow themselves to pieces eventually. It's a long old day. So I think that's the main thing. But just going back to when you're on a good day, I used to have these key points in the race, to keep your mind switched on and to keep your focus all the time. I used to break races into sections. And the first section in Roubaix was if I've got sore legs when I head into that sprint into the Ardenberg at 160 kilometres, if I'm already hurting, I know that my Roubaix is not going to be a fantastic one and I'm going to struggle the last 50, 60 Ks. And, going back to Milan-San Remo, I knew if I went up Coppa-Berta, if I go up Coppa-Berta and I can feel my legs, I'm never going to be in the final at Milan-San Remo. So you break these things into sections. So it's interesting to hear what Marco said about when he's got good legs and bad legs.
Yeah. I mean, Kev obviously doing something right with getting these riders in shape for Roubaix. Obviously, the Matt Hayman story is obviously the classic Zwift one, but even Niels, I mean, I'm not sure too many people would have had him down as being on the podium. Obviously, within the Katusha camp, there was a lot of confidence and faith in him.
Yeah, well, we obviously had a bit of a joke behind the scenes about who's going to win Roubaix, and I put Niels down as my pick, and that was a fair dinkum choice. We knew his form was improving. We knew he had the team to support him on that day. The team was improving as well. And then to see them put the race plan into place on the day was just fantastic, and in some ways a relief as well.
Good stuff. Well, again, a great classics campaign. I think it's might be definitely my favourite part of the season. And moving on to what's next now, the Giro, isn't it? The Giro is going to be the next big focal point for cycling, I think. But moving on then, sticking with the classics theme, we're going to talk about a Zwift session. So reviewing a Zwift session, and no more fitting a session than Matt Hayman's Paris-Roubaix 1 session, which can be found in the 60 to 90 minutes to burn. So Kev, I'll leave it to you to talk through the session.
Yeah, well, this is in the early days of when Matt was using Zwift. So compared to what some of the sessions are these days, it's quite a straightforward and simple session. But the key point here is that there's no getting away from the benefits of good, hard, long efforts on the ergo. And that's what Matt did plenty of. He was doing 20 hours a week of this kind of work. So for professional riders, in fact, for all riders, large amounts of tempo riding is very beneficial. And Matt was doing lots of tempo work on the ergo. So the Matt Hayman session on Zwift consists of an opening 20-minute effort to produce some fatigue. And then we're doing 2 15-minute efforts at a high tempo, 88%. But every 2 minutes, we're doing a 20-second surge up to about 150% of threshold. And that's to replicate the demands of riding across the cobbles. So with our analysis of Roubaix and riding the classics, we know that it really is a lot of surging in the races. It's not really long efforts above 2 or 3 minutes. It really is short efforts. And that's what we did on the ergo.
Yeah, and your first comment there about being a relatively simple session, I think that's a good thing. Sometimes sessions can be a little bit overcomplicated, where the simple getting the work done, that's what it's all about. And this session talks to making efforts over cobbles, but actually those efforts could be anyone can do this session, and it can apply to road racing, circuit racing, even sportifs, riding hard up climbs. I think the efforts that are made in the Roubaix session are going to give benefit to almost all of us.
Yeah, it's about accelerating from an already high effort already. So when you're already getting uncomfortable, it's then about being able to produce these 20-second, 30-second accelerations. It could be closing a gap, it could be attacking a group, or getting over the top of a climb, but it's repeated surges from an already high tempo effort.
Did you want to know a actual in real life trick we do on the cobbles to mess up guys that are lost position? So what we do, if you've got good position, the old Quatermont's a perfect place, but so is some of those really tough sessions that sectors that you come in with low speed. If you've got your team or a majority of teammates or with another team that you're combining with at that time, what you do is you slow down on the normal tar seal section and make it really, really easy just before you hit the cobbles. You accelerate really hard, so you gain probably 5 or 6 kilometers an hour. But by the time that gets absorbed back to the back of the peloton, they have to try and accelerate on the cobbles. So you've already gained that 5 or 6 kilometers an hour on the nice tar seal, and then you hit the cobbles. Whereas everyone who's in bad position has to then, by the time the acceleration gets to them, they're already 100 meters into the cobbles, and then trying to accelerate on the cobbles is so difficult, as you know. And one really good and really easy way of destroying people's legs, and that's why again and again and again positioning is so important in these cobble classics.
Nice. You see it. I mean, some of the sections they're all sprinting into the start of the sections, and then you actually get onto the cobbles and actually relaxes up slightly. It's just that fight for safety, isn't it? Just getting to the front, out of trouble, out of danger. Later on in the race, obviously they're hitting the pavé and carrying on full gas. But certainly early on in the race, you've got all those lead out trains just trying to get to the front, and then just relax and kind of conserve energy and just stay out of danger. So,
well, do you know what I noticed looking at the files from this year? We're talking about how the race is faster early on now. The last 2 hours, if you took that last 2 hours out and rode that as the professionals ride it, it would be quite, I don't want to say the word easy, but comfortable. The fatigue in the last 2 hours is definitely increasing and quite substantial over the last few years. And we see how hard they're racing in the first 4 hours. And the last 2 hours, the guys are definitely empty and spent. They're giving everything they can. But the power, it's not huge in the last couple of hours.
So they're literally racing flat out for the whole 6 hours.
Yeah, exactly. There's a big decline in power.
All right. Cycling terminology. Grego, you're on the button, mate. Kev, you okay to time?
Ready to go.
Okay, Greg. Your term, you've got 30 seconds to describe the term calibrate, mate.
Oh, mate, this is a good one. Because everyone has that guy, that mate or that cycling buddy that just said, and then we sprinted for the town sign or we sprinted for the crossing and I just dropped it down 2 gears and I hit 1600 watts and I held that for 5 seconds. I just dropped down to 1500 watts and then we all just go, hey, calibrate, mate. It means let's get your SRM or your power meter in order because your power meter's not reading correctly. Calibrate, mate.
All right, that's time.
Awesome.
Everyone has that guy.
Yeah, we all know one of those guys. And if you don't know one of those guys, it might be you.
That's the funniest thing I think I've heard you say, mate.
Oh, good stuff. All right. Quick fire question then, guys. Lace up cycling shoes, yes or
Hell
no?
yes.
Hell no.
Ooh.
I'd say hell no. Interesting. And I guess the simple reason for me is I always like to kind of change the tension of my shoes. Obviously with laces, it's pretty tricky when you're riding.
I can't believe they brought them back in the modern era. Obviously, there's the whole retro thing out there now, but lace-up shoes, like you say, you can't adjust them while you're riding. Coming into the sprint, what are you going to do? Your shoelaces up tighter? It can't work.
Mate, if you can't be the best, you got to look the best, and that's what I go for these days, all right?
That's
I've
it.
always
It's all-
gone for that.
Yeah, lace-ups are all about looks, yeah.
Exactly. So if you can't be the best, you should probably get some lace-ups, Kev, because Christ knows you're not the best, all right?
Yeah, okay, that one
There's a set in the mail. I'm going to send you a set. I'll send you a set of lace-ups, Kev.
Awesome. And Greg, I'll send you a pair of shin pads in the post just to complete your footballer look.
You're on a roll tonight,
All
really?
right, bit of a split in opinion then. All right, Q&A section then, guys. First question is from Lewis Hickman. The question reads, I done the Flanders and Roubaix Sportifs this year for the first time ever. It was so cool. Whilst my legs were strong, I trained really hard since Christmas. My upper body let me down. About half distance in each sportif, my shoulders, arms and hands just said no more, and I felt I couldn't keep pushing as hard. What is your advice for tackling the cobbles and the rough terrain in other sportif events? Do the pros do any upper body work in the gym?
Okay, well, the answer is yes. Most pros do upper body work in the gym, but they do it year round. So it's not with the sole focus of improving the feel during the cobble classics and so on. It's just a general fitness thing. So it's not something that they specifically train for the cobbles. They don't do a lot of upper body work. Generally, what my guys do is simply kettlebell swings and deadlifts. They're probably the only two upper body movements that come to mind quickly that the guys do in the gym. And those movements do have some benefit for riding over the cobbles and rough terrain, but not specifically for training for cobble classics.
Okay, question 2 from Rachel Williamson. Rachel's question reads, I've been on Zwift 4 times and I have no idea what I'm doing, so wondered if you can help me with the following queries. Am I best just riding for the time being, or doing group rides or workouts to get used to Zwift? I've just done a ride and ended up on a hill in Innsbruck for the whole hour, averaging 6 miles per hour. So just ride obviously wasn't good for me. And next, I tried an FTP test and my FTP was 96 watts. I don't know what this means or if it's any good. I've done a threshold workout, that was okay, and I've just finished the first session of a 6-week FTP building foundation, which seemed a bit too easy. So I'm not having too much luck finding the correct session. Any advice? First thoughts is, there's obviously a lot going on in Zwift, and I guess it could be a bit overwhelming to start. I mean, there's so much capability and functionality packed in. First off, obviously it takes a little bit of navigating around. And to get used to Zwift, I would try a little bit of everything and see what you like. So try riding on different maps, on different routes, in free ride mode. And to your point about spending an hour averaging 6 miles per hour up an Innsbruck climb, this is all about the route selection. So when you're in game, you can select your world choice. So that's either Watopia or the guest world. And with it, you can select your route. So this is where you can choose a course that's suitable in terms of distance and elevation. So choosing a flatter route, so maybe a course with less than 100 meters of elevation gain over 20 kilometers might be suitable for you. And you can also get a chance here to choose your ride type, whether you do a workout or follow a plan. And I think doing a little bit of free riding, but following a basic plan, so the 6-week FTP builder is going to be a great way for you to start. And addressing your FTP, you said you've got an FTP of 96. Is this good or not? I always come back. It's all relative. How new you are to the sport, how much riding you're doing. But if you're only starting out on Zwift now, for sure you're going to improve. So get through the 6-week FTP plan, and I'm sure you're going to see some serious gains in that threshold. So yeah, hopefully that helps, Rachel. And yeah, just spend some time navigating around Zwift. Jump on the Zwift forums, and there's plenty of people with similar questions and queries to yourself. But if you're still struggling or still need a couple of extra pointers, feel free to drop us a question or a post on the Zwift forum under the Zwift Power Up Cycling Podcast thread. Well, hopefully that covers that one. Question 3, one for you, Greg. And this question is from Rory Muller. And the question reads, I heard via some of the KSL commentary a reference to positioning before climbs and sliding room. I've tried to implement these strategies in my racing, but find myself committing so much to being at the front for the climb start that I then struggle up the climb and get dropped pretty early. There's obviously a bit of an art to this. How much effort should a rider invest in positioning themselves versus saving themselves for the actual climb?
Actually, a really, really good question, and I'm the right person to answer it because I did a lot of this in my career. Obviously, not being a great climber, and it is worth learning this technique. One of the key, actually, and I'll tell you in a real life story, was before the Giro, a teammate of mine, a young fella, he was a Belgian fella, and obviously used to the short, sharp climbs, and you would see him come screaming down the footpath at 100 miles an hour and to turn into this climb that was going to be 10 kilometers long. And then, of course, after 2 or 3 minutes of climbing, he's absolutely got his reverse lights on. And then he would just struggle through the race. And we sat down and had a chat. He goes, Hendy, I just don't know how I'm going to make the Giro because I can barely get through. And I said, can I give you just one tip? I said, when the climb is 10 kilometers long, it's okay to turn 50th. It's not a Belgian classic where you have to turn in the top 10 and, use so much energy to get to the front. So just wherever you are, if you're 50th, 60th, 20th, doesn't matter, mate, because over 10K, you're going to find your position and you're going to find your group. You're not going to climb with the leaders, but you're going to have such an easier time. And yeah, it just changed. Next thing, I shouldn't have probably told him that because he started climbing in front of me and I had to end up chasing him. So the same thing goes on in Zwift though, and it's one move. What you have to remember is it's one late move. You can't see the climb in 2 kilometers and start moving up then. It's like one move that has to be done correctly, and most of the climbs in Zwift are worth doing. So you do one move, you do it hard, you do it late, and then you're at the front, and then you pretend your climb starts 500 meters before the climb starts. And yes, you've got good position, and then you've got sliding room. Then you can actually, and then for me, it wasn't sliding room. It wasn't like I eased off the pedals. It was just that people passed me, but then I could actually be on the back and have good position and then hang on and make it over the climb. So the same thing in real world cycling, the same thing in Zwift. It's all about the timing of when you do it. If you do it too early, they'll come back around you, and you'll try and keep up with them, and you've used energy for too long. It has to be one move, pretty close to the climb. No more than a minute long, and then because you know that the climb is probably only 2 or 3 minutes. But then take, for example, if you're going to do the Epic or Alpe Zwift, mate, don't worry about where you turn. It's like your power, your threshold. That's what's going to determine where you finish up that climb, not if you turn first onto the bottom of the climb. So it all depends on the distance of the climb, and it has to be one move, one hard, fast move, late towards the start of the climb.
Good advice. And obviously in Zwift with double draft, you can leave it so
late
to move up. All right, guys, I think that's probably it for today's podcast. Let's catch up soon.
Yeah, looking forward to it, mate. That was a good one. And we've got some really cool topics up our sleeve for the next one. So let's reconvene then.
Good work. Thanks, guys. And we'll catch up soon.